Good afternoon, everyone. I said good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hope you guys are having a fantastic time. We're going to have fun in this session, okay? Because we're talking about wellness, right? You guys feeling well today?
Yeah.
Well, this session is called Seeking a New Definition for Wellness. My name is Constance Jones, and I'm the morning news anchor at NBC6 here in Miami, WTVJ. So I'm so grateful to be here with my local folks. I know we've got some visitors in town, so we're going to show them how we do it here in South Florida. So let's get a round of applause for our amazing panelists who are here today. So we're going to be speaking about wellness, what's effective, what's failed, what's important in this day and age. But first I want to play just a quick game, just super quick. We don't have a lot of time. Have you heard of the game, Would You Rather? You heard of it? Okay. I got this from Annie Greenwald from TED Talk, so you might have seen this. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. A, would you rather work in a place with a fantastic gym, a state-of-the-art pool, open 24 hours a day, or B, time off when you need it? Would you rather have an amazing break room filled with tons of free snacks and free beverages, or unlimited vacation time? B. Would you rather A, have tons of merch from your company and logos and hats and purses and bags? Or would you like to B, have a boss who understands when you had a bad day and you want to go home? A or B? Now, if you answered A, you're a part of the minority. Most people want a place that they feel good, right? That they're listened to, that their mental health is taken a part of the interaction for the day. And especially in this world post-COVID, these are important conversations we need to have. In fact, 80% of most workplaces have formal wellness programs in place, right? Do you guys have them in your place of work, right? That's why you're here today, probably. But in addition to that, 56% of workers are currently looking for other work. So there's a good chance someone you're speaking to is online looking for their next job. So we want to be in a place, we want to create companies where people want to be at work every day, or maybe be at home working every day, right? So we're going to have these conversations today. And I would like to begin the discussion with each of my amazing panelists. If you could please introduce yourself, your organization, and also what you do there. And also if you could keep it brief, because we only have 37 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adriene McCoy with Baptist Health South Florida. I'm the Chief People Officer of our organization.
Thank you. Nice to meet all of you. I'm Ray Schuler. I lead the client success. I'm head of client success at One Medical.
Don Stenger, Fedex Express, Manager of Strategic Talent Acquisition and Reporting.
Hey, Kristian Bouw, Chief Technology Officer at Cravety.
Jair Espinoza, Risk Management Department, Group Benefits Division Manager.
All right, could each of my panelists tell me what you do for your own wellness? Like for me, I love to crochet. It's my yoga. Let us know what you do just to help yourself get through the day.
So I just discovered this probably about 3 weeks ago, but every morning at about 5 a.m., I get up and I journal for three pages just with my dog, and I journal about anything. I'm reading a book called The Artist's Way, and it's a 12-week journal, and it says if you want to find your creative self, get up early, write 3 pages about anything, even if it's I don't even know what I'm writing, which I have done a couple of times. And I don't know why I'm up at 5 a.m., but it's really helped. It's been very therapeutic to just put my ideas pen to paper.
What I normally do is I go to the gym in the evening, usually 3 nights a week if I can. And I have some young children. I got 4 kids, and there's always something, to do that's fun and usually requires lots of energy.
Well, if you ask my girlfriend, she'll tell you I make bad decisions all the time. Like this one day, I came home on a Friday early from work, and we went to Camping World, and I bought a travel trailer. Didn't even tell her about it. Then we upgraded the trailer. We're not going to talk about the truck that I bought 16 months ago that I'm still waiting on. So just trying to get out and disconnect from life, go camping, get away from technology, because my job's very technology-based, and whenever we come to Miami, it's always an expensive adventure because we go to Romero Britto's gallery and typically buy an original of some kind. So pray for me. I haven't been there yet.
So on my side, I guess I have a natural, well, being an engineer, I have a natural tendency to kind of be quite reclusive and insulate myself from a lot of things, being around the computer. And so I've been trying to make a pretty active habit of recognizing the only constant is change and trying to get out and do something new. So I've started doing a lot of live action role playing with Dungeons and Dragon campaigns just to try and force myself to be a little bit more creative on the improv side. I'm sure some of you have heard like one of the best activities to kind of just break out from whatever box you're in is do improv. So yeah, I kind of went in the most extreme direction.
Well, being in charge of benefits and wellness, I had to walk the talk. And since 2015, when we unveiled the Stay Active Miami logo, that's what I've been doing. Just like you, I get up about 4:30 in the morning, I live in Plantation, drive to Miami, and I'm at the gym by 5:15. I spend like 5-10 minutes segment, and take a shower at my desk by 7. That in itself clears my mind, prepares it for the day, and I also try to minimize the amount of media and news that I consume, because that was driving me nuts. No offense.
Hopefully you'll change that.
He's on the end. We can push him off.
And they're
For
still
your
pushing me.
wellness.
All right, so we've gotten to know our panelists a little bit better, right? So we're going to ask them some questions regarding dealing with this issue of wellness and making sure that we have employees who are happy to be at work. And of course, the last few years, I don't have to be a broken record here, it has been very difficult, and especially for our healthcare workers. So this question, Adriene, we want to start first with you. Obviously, wellness is important, making sure your employees feel safe at the job. But you've mentioned that you want to give your employees hope for the future. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Obviously, in the entire world, it's been pretty difficult the past few years, but particularly in healthcare, because our caregivers got into healthcare to take care of people, restore them, and make them better. And they saw more death and despair than they had seen many years prior. So one of the things that we've tried to do is, the first thing we did was stop talking about COVID all the time, which is just restorative in and of itself. But one of the things that we're doing is connecting our employees back to the mission of the organization, back to the values of the organization, why we're here, how we're here to support the community, and what does that mean for them. So we're in the midst right now of going through educating all of our leaders on everything I just said, pulling them out for 4 hours, talking about these things in details in rooms like this. And then January to March, we're gonna do it for all 27,000 employees, and it's gonna be the first time we've taken everybody out, obviously not on the same day, but at different times, to come and hear where we're going. They need to know that the organization they work for is not just here for a crisis, but is here for the future and to help people as much as possible. So hopefully that will give them a sense of direction, a sense of connection and purpose to the organization, and be a little bit restorative for them.
And of course, we had our medical workers who are on the front line, but also delivery, Fedex, working every day, getting us those supplies that we needed when we were stuck at home.
Yeah.
I imagine it's been a difficult 3 years for your employees as well.
Yeah, our teams have been busy, kind of a roller coaster. When COVID first started, everything kind of pulled back, and then when everybody got to the house, they started purchasing on apps on their phone, and somebody had to deliver that, and step in Fedex and the other partners who deliver logistics services in the country. So for us, it was more about open and honest conversations with our frontline workers, letting them know they were appreciated, trying to feel empathy for the situation that they were in, the long hours, all of the movement of packages that was going on, and really giving them a voice so they could also speak back to management and have that open conversation, say, hey, this is what we need to be able to get through this and to support them the best we could.
Okay. Well, everyone talks about how it's best to take a holistic approach to wellness, rather. So what are some of the best guidelines to motivate your teammates, your coworkers, your employees to live healthy and pursue a healthy lifestyle? And Ray, let's start with you, and then Jair, we'll go to you as well.
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of it starts with culture. And some of the things I heard today in other sessions here was about trying to build a culture of making sure that you feel like you're part of the organization. And that's one of the things that we do at One Medical And lead by example is something that I talk with my team about often. Making sure that we're looking out for one another. One of the things that we do with my team, and I have a team that leads all of our client management across the country, about 32 FTE roughly across the country. And every day we get together for a short huddle, and it's all via Zoom. I mean, this is one of the things that came out of COVID. We learned how to work remotely, and we learned how to work remotely really well. And so we do a temp check at the beginning of every one of our meetings, and we just go around the phone. Everybody has something to say. Everybody, we go in alphabetical order, and we talk about, what's top of mind. What vegetable do you feel like today? What did you do over the weekend? So random things, and we kind of shift the leadership of these meetings so it's a different leader every single day, or every single week rather. And we do a 15-minute huddle every day of the week. Usually Mondays are a little bit longer, about 45 minutes or so. But I think it ties back to having a place, making sure that we're looking at well-being in a way that's beyond just physical. It's emotional. It's, being able to feel like you're part of an organization where you can kind of speak your mind and you can share the feelings and the thoughts that you have.
Jair, could you speak a little bit about Stay Active Miami and that initiative?
By all means, the city of Miami recognized that the workforce is sedentary, and it mimics the U.S. population with the comorbidities that we all have: obesity, diabetes, hypertension. So we made a conscious effort to create a strategy that would meet the people where they were. So we created Stay Active Miami, and we started hosting 21 to 26 on-site fitness classes on-site at the administrative building in Miami, and across multiple disciplines. In addition, we broadened our EAP offering as well to do it on-site at different locations throughout the city. And then COVID-19 comes down, and we had to pivot. And this is what I like about the city of Miami. We are very dynamic, we're very responsive. Although I'm part of the risk management department, part of the Alpha Bravo shift that we had to cover the weekends in the emergency center, we continue focusing on the wellness of our employees. So we pivoted, and we started offering fitness classes virtually 7 days a week instead of just the work days. So we expanded the time frame and the number of classes, and participation increased. It gave people the venue to at least exercise, because there's a lot of venues that you can use, right, on platforms, but knowing that there were some co-workers of you participating in the class and having fun together kept us aligned. And again, just like you said earlier, you lead by example. I attend the classes. I continue to tell people that there are resources available to all of us, including EAP services for non-eligible employees, like the part-timers, the seasonal employees, the lifeguards. They all have access to that. We care about our employees.
Does any of our other panelists have any suggestions on motivating coworkers or employees to a healthier lifestyle?
I like what you said about lead by example, because I think a lot of times, and we found this even with our leaders, some of our leaders were very stressed and really needed to reset before they could provide support to their staff. And thinking about it holistically, whether it's mental health, whether it's spiritual care, different things that people need. And I think a lot of leaders realize that people have a number of needs, not just the one that you hear about. So when we took the time to actually hear from people, when you're on all these Zoom calls, a lot of times you go right into the topic. So taking that time out that you mentioned, I think, is really huge.
So I must be a little different, because my team has been together. I have not worked from home a single day since COVID started, because our frontline employees are out and our leaders are in the offices. So for us, our teams are ever vigilant to pay attention to each other, see how we're reacting in a day, if we need a break. I've had people come into my office and say, hey, let's go get lunch. Let's just get out of here for 30 minutes. So we do a lot of self-monitoring, and we've been very fortunate to have our group still together in the office. I think we had snow in Memphis, so we missed 6-7 days of work. But other than that, it's been every day for us.
Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the challenges that I'm sure many of you guys face is making sure that our employees, our coworkers, are familiar with what resources are available to them, right? There's a lot of great benefits, but knowing about the program is important, right? When they come in and it's their first week or second week, they can't go through everything. So that's a big challenge that I'm sure everyone faces. And I want to start here with Kristian about the gamification, I like that word, of making sure that everyone that we work with is aware of what resources are available.
So I'm going to just split that into two parts, and just want to preface that I'm looking at this in the perspective on the Cravety side as using technology to try and fill in these gaps, because kind of the way that we view the current situation that's going on is that if you just kind of like zoom out a bit and consider where you spend the majority of your adult life, in terms of time, it's working. It's usually at your job. It's with your employer. And so if you then consider that line, well, then as HR professionals, you have an incredible amount of, one, responsibility, but also two, influence in terms of the health literacy of the people it is that are following you and that you're leading. I think certainly more so than maybe their primary care physician or something. And so we've been talking up here about a lot of benefits and a direction that can be given to those individuals. In our case, we've been focusing a lot on frontline workers, given the situation with COVID. As Don was mentioning earlier, super heightened importance, and I'm sure Baptist Health and others, of the need for those individuals to feel valued, right? Traditionally, you have more of the front line and then the desk workers per se. And oftentimes more of the benefits, if you go talk to a desk worker, they're gonna know what their retirement plan is, what their health benefits are. They've been kind of naturally walked and guided through that. With frontline workers, it's a little bit of a different scenario. They kind of get thrown in. If you were to ask them maybe a week or 2 weeks in, did you know about this benefit? The likely response you're going to get is, no, I had no idea about that. And so in an attempt to try and make them feel valued and have the information available to them, the platform that we've worked on is really focused on using technology to fill in those gaps. And so, we have a set of what we call pathways. So when a new employee gets onboarded, there's kind of an initial onboarding pathway, and if we identify, from that content that they're interacting more with things related to mental health or physical health or whatever it may be, or they want to know more about education or health benefit, the system naturally identifies that and then tailors new content to be given to them to kind of push them down the pathway that they're engaging more with, and to the gamification part to try and empower companies a little bit more, as we have this badge system. Now, badges have been done quite often, but in our case, it's a system that's controlled by the company, and they're able to essentially create all these kind of skill trees or paths, if you would. So if someone comes in and they decide that they want a leadership role and they want to, get an associate's degree or finish a bachelor's in, say, 3 years, we have companies that have set up all these milestones in terms of badges, and it's a way to try and nudge people along in a gamified sense to help them reach their goals, and make sure that it's contextualized and personal to them, not so much the typical concept of a leaderboard where they're competing against everyone else, but for them it's just trying to get better, day after day, and hopefully help them individually get to where it is that they want to be inside of the company, wherever that may be.
Anyone else have something to add?
What he said.
Well, I think that you continue to analyze your workforce, right? For example, on the benefit side, we look at the pain points and we conduct surveys with employees as well. We found out one of our employees, our plan offers 16 hours of home health care for the bedridden, dependent of yours. But this particular employee had 2 dependents that were bedridden. So 16 hours of home health care 7 days a week was not enough. He was exhausted when he would get home. So our director and I, we looked at the plan and we changed it to 24/7. That in itself changed the entire dynamic for that particular individual and for others that are caregivers. So we know that there's a need, and the city of Miami is always looking for tweak the levers necessary to impact positively employees.
Yeah. And you make a really good point, Jair. The systems in place can be a little confusing for the employees coming in and trying to balance out vacation time, comp time. Can I go home and be with my kid because they're sick? What time is that? How do I document this and that? It can be so confusing and really a hassle. I love my company, but there's so many different codes I have to put in on my timesheet if I have to go out and say it's a personal day versus a vacation day, right? Sometimes I feel like the systems in place make the workplace a little difficult. and challenging, right? And so it's not a good relationship at times. Are there ways to reduce the stress for our workers who already are doing a good job or working to do a good job? And Donna, I'll defer to you on that and making it a little easier. You've got employees out in the field working. Obviously, they're office workers, but you mentioned during COVID, they were out there.
Yeah, we have a few. We have roughly 120,000 employees in the US, with just over 80 of those being frontline workers. And actually, very fortuitous for us, we started a project pre-COVID working with VMware and Cravety. So we rib each other because we've been working together for 3 years on a platform. And we built an integrative and immersive digital employee experience that we actually extend over to the candidate. And from submission on the application, we start feeding information about benefits and culture and the job, and kind of like that pizza tracker, where they are in the process. And then that carries over to them as they're an employee. So as they're going through onboarding, they now have information that is at their fingertips, not having to go to their manager or find a manager in a facility. They can simply go to their mobile device in the digital world, pull up our Fedex Start app, and look for information on benefits or job or culture or career or leadership or whichever of the affinity groups they're interested in, and at their own pace. Because sometimes when it comes to wellness, some of our employees are hesitant to come to a manager and say, hey, I've got this problem. I don't know where to go to for help. And so, I mean, I do that all the time. Just like go back, ask my girlfriend, she'll beat me up regularly because why don't you bring this up? It's less.
We gotta find this girlfriend because you're calling her out.
Yeah, she's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, so I can never win those arguments. But it's really just that access that makes the difference, and we get to control the delivery of that content and leverage AI and ML on the Action Logic platform to deliver time-definite, state-definite, behavior-definite content to individuals in the manner that they need it. Everybody in this room is different. We don't need the same content in the same order.
Right.
So using those millions of data points that we have and leveraging behavioral science, we now have 100,000 different experiences for 100,000 employees instead of one experience for 100,000 employees. And that is absolutely amazing and game-changing.
And I'll refer to Ray for this question. Of course, we are talking about the pandemic because that ultimately changed the way that we work. Employees have tried to focus more on mental health and well-being, but a lot of workers still have trouble getting started down the path towards finding help and information. What are some better ways to handle this approach?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, right? And depending on the size of the employer, I think it definitely makes an impact. I mean, if you're an employee at FedEx, I think, providing that level of detail is something that you guys, have a lot of resources, a lot of time to be able to do that type of delivery to your employees, and it's awesome, it's amazing. But I would say for, most employers, maybe between 25 to 1,000 employees, or maybe even 10,000 employees, point solutions tend to become complicated to some people. And so there's, employer groups that offer maybe a mental health program, or maybe a weight management program, or a diabetes prevention program, or a disease management program. So you have all of these things out there, and the employer's trying to do the right thing for their employee, but what happens is it becomes really complex for that employee. So one of the things, and I've spent 20 years of my career in wellness, but one of the things that I think that we have at One Medical that's really special is the relationship between our providers and the patients. That trust channel. You need to have a trust channel. You need to have an advisor that can help point that individual in the right direction. Our doctors, they assess the member holistically. We implemented a Live Well visit recently, and we basically took the annual physical and just totally redesigned it, and we're focused on not just physical, but also focused on the emotional. And especially right now, there's so much anxiety, there's a lot of stress, coming out of COVID, and the additional burden that put on people. A lot of people stopped doing preventative care during COVID. They didn't want to go out of the house. They didn't want to go to the gym. Maybe their gym was closed. Maybe, they couldn't, they just didn't have a comfort level of leaving. So I think, it's really important to go back to that level of trust and relationship with your doctor, and your doctor is the expert in helping you, help guide you on the right clinical path, help guide you on the right mental health path, just depending on what's going on with you individually.
Adriene, would you like to echo in?
Sure. I think one of the things that you mentioned that's critically important is really the relationship between the caregiver and the provider is really, really important. We have a well-being department now that we didn't have a couple of years ago, with psychologists and psychotherapists, and they literally go around all the hospitals, walk the floors, sit in the break rooms to see if people will come to them, because, you know, to your point, you can have an app, but caregivers usually, they're looking outward. They're not looking inward. They're trying to help others, and they have a pretty significant responsibility. So we really had to go find them where they are. We trained a number of people on mental health first aid. Peers, we did peer-to-peer first aid so that people could see each other, because there are two camps in our organization. There are people that are desk workers that are now remote, and then you've got the hospital folks that are like you. They've never left. They've been there the whole time, the nurses, respiratory therapists, and others. And you want to make sure that whatever you're providing, whether it's technology or an EAP or resources, that you're reaching everybody, because no one solution reaches everybody. And you really want to reach everybody that works for you in some way with the way they want to be interacted with. There are some folks that are never going to call EAP. There are some people that are never going to be do an app, but they may talk to someone sitting in the break room if they have a need. So you just have to not treat people as just one community with one solution. You have to have multiple.
And speaking of finding those multiple solutions, Kristian, with the software and the systems that you have in place, that's what you do. You find where your individual employees need help, depending on where they work, how they log in, how much. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the threads of continuity between a lot of the talk up here is understanding that, and you know, you'll all know this from the other talk today, that the workforce itself has been diversifying significantly. But along with that, also the needs have been diversifying as well, right? And you know, with COVID, we had this weird thing where, you know, with pre-COVID with technology, there were a couple of, you know, the boundaries were starting to blur a little bit between work life and home life. But with COVID now, certainly those have blurred significantly more. And as I was mentioning earlier, the number of, you know, hours that you spend in your work, in your adult life, there's quite a great contribution to the company itself. So, you know, when we're looking at this from the technological side, as was being mentioned earlier, we're trying to solve the problem of not trying to do a one-size-fits-all. Naturally, that's what you're geared towards, because it's a difficult problem to solve without technology. To be able to do that as an individual, it just doesn't scale very well. And when we're looking at companies itself, I think one thing is understanding, you know, we're trying to make information available or motivate people to get more involved. It's understanding that as a company, there's a general culture, right? So you come into a company and there's that company culture, but there's so many microcosms that exist within that company that there's a significant amount of weight and burden that can be lifted off of executive leadership, of managers, if we're able to better connect the individuals of like groups and like minds together, like situations. And so, you know, again, inside of the platform, we do this a lot with things such as when employees onboarded, perhaps they might be a veteran. And so there's a veteran groups for them to be able to do that. Maybe there's an affinity group for sexual orientation, one that's focused on, say, women in tech, whatever it may be. But the point is to try and help these individuals when they're coming into the company, make sure that they understand there's a general company culture, but I think what fortifies that fabric are all the smaller microcosm cultures that are inside, and it feels more personable, and I think it's more effective if you have individuals that are part of the workplace that are kind of extending the brand equity from their own Yeah, exactly, right? When it comes to sales as well, referrals are the strongest source, and so we're trying to capture that with technology inside of the company, because again, it's great to get a message from executive leadership about what you're trying to do, but there's nothing I think quite as effective or personable as the person that you're coming into, working alongside you in the trenches, kind of making that same recommendation and pulling you along.
Jair, did you have something else?
I think that the major difference, though, among the 5 of us here is a municipality versus a corporate, right, setting. So we don't have the bells and whistles that you have and that technology, but we do have the boots on the ground, and we have the commitment to ensure that what you see is what you get. And people have, we have earned their respect and trust to the point that I remember being seen by the fire union as part of the administration, right? And I'm like, I'm just a division manager. I'm here to help you. My goal is to lead you to the resources that we have available already. And over time, that broke down, and they embraced the program that they won the champion for the city. And it's gratifying to see that from where we were, now we have an on-site clinic, because 37% of our employees did not have a PCP, so now we have an on-site clinic in the administrative building. We have expanded from 1 gym at the administrative building. Now we have 7 other locations where the solid waste employees, parks employees, code enforcement, GSA, they can go and work out, because we all need to stay active in Miami, Yeah. But it's not only about physicality. We also have classes in financial literacy. We have how to deal with the different generations at work, different topics, anything that gets engagement and word of mouth. That's what's helping us increase the numbers of participation.
All right, so with that, dealing with the stresses of work and the fabric, the patchwork that makes our workplace, this beautiful quilt, which we call our team, how do we build a sense of community so when our employees come in, they feel like what they do matters, that it makes a difference, and that I'm willing to deal with a little bit of stress or working the extra hours, because sometimes we've got a deadline, sometimes it's going to be hard. And Ray, I know you actually started your career in nursing and then elevated your way up through the ranks. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think this is an area near and dear to my heart. How do you really get people engaged in a way that they feel like they're part of something? And I think helping that individual, whether it's an employee, whether it's a employee of a client, I think demonstrating the value across the team that's delivering the services and helping them to make sure that they're bought in and they understand the value that they're delivering. For us at One Medical, that's pretty easy. I mean, we see immediate results in the interactions that we have with our members, and that's something that is very near and dear to our heart as far as making sure that the experience that particular patient gets is second to none. We want to deliver the best care in the nation. We want to do it in a way that we are meeting the patient where they are, that they're viewing us as an entity that they can trust and leverage the support that One Medical provides. But I would say the biggest thing is we want them to love their PCP and the PCP practice. And it's easier for me to sit here and talk about it, but until you experience it, until you step into one of our offices and see how our employees interact with our patients and our members, it is very special. And it's something that we're super excited about bringing into Miami. We're opening up an office here in December and 2 more offices in January.
Woo woo! That's good. A round of applause. Bringing businesses to South Florida. Sorry for interrupting. We like when businesses come to South Florida. So, Adriene, would you like to add to that at all?
Sure. I think, when you think about the career trajectory of anyone, it's not a moment in time. I'm sure if we asked throughout your career, probably wanted to be different things at different times. We always start out bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, thinking we know what we want to be, and then it morphs into something else. So having the opportunity to check in with staff throughout their experience, make sure that the reason they joined your organization continues to hold true throughout their experience. So if someone comes in and they're a nurse and they love taking care of patients, then helping them see a path to leadership or other types of operational jobs while still fulfilling their core purpose of why they joined. And that requires these talent management conversations, reminding people that, hey, you can have a long career here. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And then tying that back so that they always find value in what they're doing every day, because everybody wants to have purpose. Everybody likes money. They like all the other stuff, but everyone wants to know that their job matters, and you have to constantly connect their job back to what the organization's trying to accomplish, and it's a two-way street. Yes, we give you a job, but you also have an opportunity to live with purpose and fulfill your own personal mission as well.
And I think all of us want to be at a place where we can grow and elevate and move up in our positions. Dawn, you started at Fedex as a package handler, and then you moved your way up, all the way up, super high up. But I imagine as you moved your way up, there were new responsibilities, new stress, new challenges. Were there systems in place to help you navigate as you're taking on these new responsibilities that add to more stress to your everyday workflow? How did you mitigate that?
Yeah, so it was, for me, it was like a boomerang. So I spent more than 10 years being self-employed as an entrepreneur, running my own businesses, and very much integrated in technology and sitting behind a computer all day. And the last company I had, I transitioned from it and was sitting at home, and oddly enough, I'm like, I need a workout program. Who does labor? I can go work at Fedex. I can go get a good workout. I can be have a good old time, move some boxes, and get me out of the house for 3 hours.
Smart.
And I didn't realize how physical it was. There were muscles I hadn't used since I was an athlete in college. There were probably muscles I was using that I never used as an athlete in college. And I was a pole vaulter, so I did a lot of working out. So for me, it was getting up to speed on getting inside of, running your own company, 16 employees, 3 different countries, to FedEx Express, more than 80,000 employees, and I'm just a little fish in the pond trying to figure out how to swim upstream to find everything. So what was great about that is as I moved through the process, I learned how to protect my physical wellness and to take the time to step back from my position, to relax and just try to physically recover, because it wasn't so mentally taxing. I just move a box, load a truck, unload a container, but a lot of it. And then as you transition into knowledge worker roles, it gets different, and then working on a lot of global projects really kind of starts to tax the brain, because now you're not only thinking about what's in the US, it's okay, what's in Europe, what's work council related, what's...
You just got back from Spain.
Just got back from Spain, so I'm a little jet lagged. We were in Barcelona last week presenting at VMware Explore, and so learning how all that functions and then having to go, okay, how do I disconnect? What do I have for assistance? So finding out EAP, all of our wellness benefits that we have, like Gym Pass and different things, and getting into where I could disconnect from what I call my digital leash. So shutting my laptop off, getting my phone away from me. That's why I go camping, right? Where there's no service. Alaskan cruises work well too. And then moving into the position I'm in now is I'm so similar to a lot of our other FedEx leaders. Shannon Brown, who's our SVP of the Eastern Division, also our Chief Diversity Officer, had been at FedEx for 40 years. Well, he started as a handler. He's like the majority of our leaders in position who started from the ground up. So we get to make decisions with an immense amount of empathy because we've all moved packages in our network. In fact, some of us still go out at the holidays when it's peak and everybody's buying their Christmas gifts, and we remember the muscles we haven't used in a while. Yeah. So it's trying to make access to the information through systems easier has been a big focus to help with the wellness piece, but also knowing how taxing it can be physically and mentally to go say, hey, go home today, it's 1 o'clock, clear your calendar, right. You've been dealing with me all week, you just need to go. And I do that to my team regularly now.
It looks like we have a few more minutes. Yes, okay. I have a few other questions.
We're gonna sing a song at the end of this. Take requests.
Yeah, if anyone else has anything else to echo to that, I think finding purpose at work. I mean, we can talk about wellness all day and benefits and having yoga classes for free, but really having a sense of purpose that what I do every day matters to the team is important. Jair, did you have something else to add?
No, well, I think that you have to say what you mean and do what you mean, right? And you live by example, and that flows downstream. And when you create that, one of the things that I tell, like right now, we just completed open enrollment, 3 weeks of how it goes, non-stop, 24/7. But at the end of the 3 weeks, the launch for the team, kudos to them. You did it. It wasn't me. It takes a village. So if something goes wrong, I tell them it's my fault.
Yeah.
If something goes well, you guys did it, and that has kind of created that bond that we are in this together, and we are here to help one another, which is the rest of the City of Miami workforce.
There's one thing that my team really sticks with. It's if you're too big to do the little things, you're too little to do the big things.
Amen.
So we make sure we're in every little facet where we can to help. And if somebody calls for assistance, we're the first ones to respond as quickly as possible. And setting that internal culture not only helps my team be more productive, but they know if they need help, they're going to get it back.
Right.
So it's been very
Gratifying.
It's been great. Yeah.
It's gratifying
Yeah.
to see that. Yeah, to see that you roll up the sleeves and you
Servant leadership,
yes,
man. Servant leadership.
Servant
is where it's
leadership.
at.
That's what's key. Servant leadership.
Kristian, did you have something?
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. I'll make my case as a technologist that I don't think any of this is possible without technology. And the only reason I'll mention one, if you could just hear me out.
We wouldn't have a hybrid schedule. I thank you because I have a hybrid schedule.
So if you hear the stories that are being told, it doesn't scale, right? Like these are incredible people doing incredible things for other individuals, and it's just how do you get that message out? How do you have the rest of your organization know, right? Like gone are the days where you just pass out an employee handbook, say welcome to work, and hope you do well, right? And so I think if all of you look back at your career trajectory, how you've gone through, or even maybe people you've helped, probably the most formative conversations that you have ever had are the personal ones. It's the one-on-ones. It's where someone took the time to understand you, to figure out what you're doing, to try and help guide you, to be there as a resource. So the only reason that I kind of inject technology into that is what we're trying to do is not replace that. I would almost consider what we're doing is AI-assisted empathy. It's trying to help these people move along, and then this way, all of these kind of personal conversations, it's knowing when to interject, right? Because not everyone needs those touch points at every point in time, but it's trying to move everyone along, at least on the right path, allow technology to do its thing to keep, again, kind of putting them down a personalized path, anticipate what it is that they're trying to do, or what they want to do, and then when we see the signals or the signs that someone or something needs to intervene, then you can do that. And it's the only way I think it scales because, again, it's like incredible stories, but with an organization of 28,000, organization of 120,000, like how do you get that to people? It's just impossible without technology, and that I rest my case.
Well, I want to back up. I want to back
for me.
Kristian up on his technology claim. So we've got a wellness platform, Baptist Health, and we were so struck by the fact that when we opened it up and allowed people to create groups, the Weight Watchers group, the runners group, the sports group, whatever, we had hundreds of groups coming together on their own, not corporatized, not managed. That's what you're talking about, being able to scale it to lots of people and have people find each other.
It has to be organic.
I think that's a great companion to also having that high touch, but also allowing your workforce to gather together with like interests, similar interests that they have. So I'm with you on the technology.
Technology is an enabler. It is absolutely an enabler. But at the end of the day, it's the people that make the magic.
Okay, we're running out of time. We have like 2 minutes, but in 30 seconds or less, if you can do it, and we'll start down here. Any final words of advice for our amazing audience members? 30 seconds.
Listen to your people. I mean, one of the things that we tabulate is the activity log, and we sit down once a week to see what is the pain points that some of our employees are facing, and then we try to find a solution.
Sure, another case. So it's 2022. We're still having these conferences, still having these conversations, still having these same problems. I don't know how many of you have however many technological solutions and all the activities you've tried to throw at the problem to solve it. Again, I don't think it's solved without smart technology, again, AI-assisted empathy, because again, what you're trying to replicate what all these individuals are doing, and so you need some way to be able to box that up. We're doing that, so please, if it's of interest, come say hi.
I don't know how to follow that up. I think it's just be authentic in all of your interactions, no matter what's going on with your people, whether it's 5 people or 500,000. If you're authentic, people will react to you genuinely. That opens up the door for communication. And remember that if you're going through a tough time at work, most likely you're not in it alone. So open your eyes, more importantly, open your ears, and just listen and be a good business partner to those who you work with and those who you don't work with. Because you never know who you're going to run into and what you're going to be able to just listen to or react to that might help somebody.
Yeah, and I think I would underscore the need to be empathetic leaders and really understand your people and know that they're human beings too, and they face life on a daily basis. And how do you provide them with support and maybe benefits that are able to help them in their well-being journey and give them a source of trust, a source of guidance from a clinical and an emotional standpoint. And I think if you're able to do that, you're gonna drive higher retention across your employees.
I'm the last word, huh? So one thing I'll say that has taken me a couple of years to learn is you can't be a help to anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. So number one, you've got to make sure you're in a good place. You've got to make sure you're taking care of your health, your mental health, your spiritual health, whatever it is you need to take care of. But we can't be great HR professionals and support the workforce, our own teams or leaders if we're not in a good place. So just being honest with ourselves, using some of the resources and tools that we've talked about. We're all about providing things for everybody else, but sometimes we need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves as well.
All right, seeking a new definition for wellness. Can you guys please give a round of applause for our amazing panelists today?